Your afternoons just got a new rhythm on QBS. Tune in as Juhara Al-Suwaidi, Huda Waleed and Chloe dive deep into today's social issues with expert voices and your questions. Real conversations, fresh perspectives. The Midday Show, 1 to 3 p.m, Sunday to Thursday, live on QBS.
Hello there, beautiful people of Qatar. Welcome to a brand new Midday Show. And today what we're touching on is finding the right jobs, or, making room for, inclusivity for people with special needs here in Qatar. Whether you're a job seeker, a family member, or just someone who wants to learn more about how we can build a more inclusive workforce, then you're definitely in the right place. So let me tell you a few things about the employment landscape for people with special needs in Qatar. Qatar has made significant strides in employing individuals with disabilities. As of February 2022, so about 3 years ago, approximately 80% of persons with disabilities are employed across both government and private institutions. This achievement is the result of collaborative efforts between various ministries and organizations, including the Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Labor, and the Qatar Olympic Committee, which provide training to job aspirants with disabilities. The Ministry of Education and Higher Education has also established inclusive classrooms in 82 schools across Qatar, catering to students with disabilities. And these schools offer specialized programs ranging from early intervention to vocational training, preparing students for integration into the workforce. As for training and skill development programs, the Qatar Career Development Center, QCDC, in collaboration with MADA Assistive Technology Center, has conducted training programs aimed at enhancing career guidance services for students with mild and moderate learning challenges. And these programs focus on developing essential soft skills such as communication, self-regulation, and self-advocacy, which are crucial for workplace successes. Qatar has also ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities in 2008, underscoring the commitment to protecting the rights of individuals with disabilities. And this commitment is reflected in the Qatar's National Vision 2030 and the National Strategy for Public and Mental Health, which emphasize the integration of people with disabilities into society, including the employment sector. That is so amazing. If you just found that out like I did, that is mind-blowing, absolutely amazing, and exactly the type of thing we're aiming to touch on and to, drive more, drive more push for in society. And hopefully starting with this conversation, all it takes is a conversation, right? Each and every one of us has a responsibility to not just because it's great to hear the word inclusivity, right? It's great to throw it around, it's great to talk about it, but it's even better to do something about it. And hopefully we can start with something as small as this conversation, which might not be small to those people with disabilities. This can be something really big for them. Joining us today is NickiiJean, or do you prefer Nicole Alexander?
I like NickiiJean.
I only know you as NickiiJean.
Exactly, and we just got to keep it there,
Right, so today is joining us is NickiiJean, a highly experienced applied behavior therapist and co-founder of the Life Skills Hub with over 15 years in the field. Nikki brings a wealth of knowledge in fostering independence and vocational skills for diverse learners across the U.S. and the GCC region. And you are also an author. You published Kaida's Magical Nap Time in 2019. It's a book designed to help children develop positive nap time routines. Through her work, she continues to challenge stereotypes, promote inclusion, and make a meaningful impact in both the autism and women's health communities. Welcome back to QBS. It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
I'm still here. I'm happy. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're happy to have you back. You always bring a nice, great vibe. I know last time it was early in the morning.
Yeah.
So today is a bit more suitable, I think, for both of us.
Got to sleep in a bit.
All right, let's get straight into it. Could you paint a picture for our listeners about the current landscape of job opportunities for individuals with special needs here in Qatar, and what are some of the common challenges and successes that you've observed?
I think that Qatar is growing in regards to this inclusion aspect, but I think that we are trying to model what that looks like to better support, these companies that want to hire adults with disabilities. We do know that the law here says that 2% of your staff should have a disability if you have 25 or more staff members, which is the majority of a lot of the businesses here. Mm-hmm. So them knowing that they need to do that and learning how to do that, that's kind of what Life Skills Hub has started to do in the past 3 years. So the success is, we've been able to connect with different companies here saying, hey, we know the law. Let me help you, follow the law and support you in that space. And let's model what that looks like. Are you interested in allowing adults with special needs to work in your space with support from Life Skills Hub? And a lot of companies have said yes. And I think the most successful part is just being able to provide like a meaningful opportunity for that young adult. Now they are not at home, on the iPad. They're actually immersed in the community and they're a part of, the community, and, there's purpose for them.
I love that. So, what are the common challenges or successes that you've observed? What have you seen personally happen?
I think just challenges is continuing to like push that narrative. And getting the community to understand, because once we get, the business on board, that's great. But now how about the customers that are coming into that business? How do we also help them better understand like this full picture of, yes, someone with a disability may be greeting you at the door. They may be, providing coffee, and they are capable, and we've made sure that they are capable. And so you should receive that versus, not receiving it.
I love that. For employers who might be hesitant, what are some of the key benefits and often overlooked strengths that individuals with special needs bring to the workplace?
I think benefits is like having empathy, practicing empathy, having compassion. Right now you may not have a disability, but you don't know what your future looks like. You may now be in that position, and you want to be able to be, provide a safe space for anyone with a disability to be able to, engage in that work environment. We all were able to go to college or whatever choice, we chose to pick our career path. And I just think that, our young adults with disabilities that need more support should be able to have that same opportunity with, the community that can provide that. So, yeah.
Right. Because going back to what you said, you don't know what your future looks like,
know.
Right?
Yeah.
Me as a functioning person, I may be just fine, but I never know what's going to happen if I decide to have children.
Yeah.
What would happen to them? What would that look like?
Exactly.
And the struggles as a parent, you always think it's never going to happen to you.
Yeah. You think you're going to have this perfect life, whatever perfect looks like in your world, but reality is the reality, you know. So
life is imperfect.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
I really do. It's a great message to send across, and I love that you're working closely with companies and businesses to make inclusion happen. Because as I was saying earlier, it's a nice word to use.
Yeah.
It's a nice word to hear.
Yeah.
But it's even better to actually do it.
1,000%.
To actually put some action towards that and creating a more inclusive workforce.
Yeah.
What are some concrete steps that individuals with special needs and their families can take now to identify potential career paths and prepare for job opportunities?
That's a good one. So, okay, I have this podcast and we were just talking about like routine building and like how vocational skills start inside of the home. So I think that sometimes some of our parents may hover our children and kind of protect them in this space of independency. Right. So they don't allow them to wash the dishes or do certain things that they could do around the house. I think that if we start within the home, that is how we're able to see like what these children enjoy, what they're capable of, and kind of push them in those spaces. And so I had a kid that would sing around the house all the time, and I'm like, oh my God, this kid has the most beautiful voice ever. We need to like get them into singing. Or this kid is able to play with their dolls and create outfits with their dolls. We need to like tap into that. That's a future stylist. That's a future performer. You know, how do you tap into their strengths by allowing them to be creative without us hovering them? Give them opportunities to be independent as much as possible within the home, I would say.
Okay, it's a great start.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a great start for sure. So with your career fair just around the corner, May 10th, by the way, guys.
May 10th.
What specific advice would you give to job seekers with special needs to kind of help them make the most of this event? And are there any particular strategies they should employ when interacting with potential employers?
I just think that they should not overthink this whole scenario. I think that a lot of individuals kind of overthink just special needs and kind of tiptoe around it. They are human, just like you are human. Receive them, you know, be open to the conversation, get to know them. Literally, we just want these, companies to get to know the special needs community. This is the first time for Life Skills Hub that we are putting both inside of the room together, and we just want them to interact first to see, as a company, you don't know what you need either.
Right.
And if we're welcoming the special needs community, let's just get to know what type of strengths are out there, so then you can adjust your company and the different, job offers that you are providing. Because I think that a lot of us business owners just think about the job and the task that needs to get done. But then when we try to bring into the inclusion aspect, what are the tasks and jobs that need to be modified so this young adult can actually thrive in this space?
Okay, I hear that. Yeah, because for employers, when they hear disabilities or special needs, or for example, when they hear about someone being neurodivergent, right, such as like ADHD, bipolar, whatever, they freak out a little bit.
Yeah,
they really do. They're like, ooh.
Yeah, because they don't know how to handle that space. And I think that with what we do with Life Skills Hub, we're not just throwing you in the lion's den. We actually train, in advance. There's also a one-on-one there that is to support. So I think another thing that these companies can do is, educate yourself. There's one thing to say, I'm going to be inclusive, but then do you know how to be inclusive? What does that look like? Reaching out to the different companies. I know that we're not the only company, that provides is pushing an inclusive narrative in the workspace. So connecting with the different companies here to better learn, going to the workshops, hiring someone to come into your space to teach, the staff how to support, that would be ideal. The mindset's one thing, but then how do you do it? So, yeah.
Right. Now, for the individuals with disabilities, are there any specific or particular strategies they should employ when interacting with employers?
I think that my biggest thing is I just don't want anyone to overthink. I really want everyone to come into the space. I think that we will have experts and professionals that are there that can support. I don't know if there's a way to like strategies where, I'm thinking about someone that may have Down syndrome or someone that has ADHD. I think the strategy is just to be yourself, because we really are trying to find the right mix and the right balance between our children and adults with disabilities and the workspace. So I just want everyone to kind of feel comfortable, be themselves, not to overthink the scenario, because it's a first for all of us in this space.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I like where you want to go with this. I think, like you said, it's important for both parties to go in with an open mind, open heart. Yeah. And to not overthink. I think that's the hardest part, right? Is the overthinking, because you don't know really what to expect on both ends, right? With employers, it's like, can I accommodate them? Right. Will they be a right fit? And with, those with the disabilities, they're like, also, am I going to be the right fit? Right. Is it going to be okay? Are they going to treat me well? Right. I think also another thing is, will I be mistreated?
Exactly.
In this workplace?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's just the unknown can be scary. And so I just don't want us to think about the unknown. And I know it's easier said than done, but I just really want everyone I just want to introduce everybody first. And we start from there. And we go from, we build from that. We build that relationship from that.
I like that. I love to hear that. Talking about jobs for people with special needs, because you have a career fair coming up on the 10th of May. And it sounds fantastic. It sounds like a great initiative. So could you tell our listeners more about its goals and what type of opportunities might be available?
Yes. Honestly, the number one goal is just to kind of introduce the community, both communities, the special needs community, to the workspace. We have over 20 companies that are, confirming this mission and adding on to this mission of, hey, we are going to provide an inclusive workspace. We are willing to hire. And we will have 2 panel discussions with some amazing different experts in the space to kind of better help the community understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how to do it. Along with, we're going to have some headshots where people can kind of take headshots. As we're talking about this career space, not only do we want to provide an opportunity for the companies to merge, but we also want to provide an opportunities for the young adults to learn like what this space looks like. You need a CV, you need a headshot. What does that look like? LinkedIn is a thing. And so we're hoping to kind of have some opportunities to kind of discuss how to build a resume. What does that look like? We'll have a section, a booth where you can specifically sit down, learn how to, you should walk away with an actual resume. You should walk away with the CV. We'll have a photographer there that will be able to, get your headshots done for free. And yeah, we're just hoping that everyone can network and find an opportunity to service this space and to better understand. I want people to walk away feeling like they are included, and I want the companies to feel like they better understand what inclusion looks like and feels like.
All right. Now, adding on to that, what makes this fair specifically beneficial for individuals with special needs?
I think that I've been here 8 years. I've not attended a fair for adults with, disabilities to, find work opportunities. I think it's already a hard thing, right, to just go into a fair and try to find the right job. But the benefit is for the community to see, our young adults, see them for who they are and understand how they deserve purpose and opportunity. So I'm hoping that a lot of young adults walk away with better opportunities for, their future career. And that will also, make the families feel happy. We've worked with a lot of adults with disabilities, and I think that the parents are always concerned about, what does my child's future look like without me? God forbid anyone, leave the earth, but that is our harsh reality too. So will my child be able to thrive and provide a life for their own, on their own without me being here? So that is what we're essentially trying to start. Plant seeds.
I like that. So beyond this career fair, what are some long-term initiatives or shifts that you'd like to see in Qatar to further promote inclusive employment for people with special needs?
I think that it shouldn't take a career fair for companies to want to be inclusive. I hope that this is a seed that plants, and I hope that it grows where these different organizations automatically counted when they're hiring people. They need to, for sure, I want 5 people with disabilities or whatever the case may be. I just really want the mindset to change when it comes to hiring. And I want the adults with disabilities and the families to feel like there is space for them. So as they grow, they can share the message with other families that are, their kids are turning 18. I want us to continue to share this message along the way that this is the space. We have a space for us. We have a future for us, and there is purpose. So, yeah.
It sounds very meaningful. Hopefully, with the start, this conversation can be a part of the start of that, right?
Yes,
I know
yes.
Qatar, and I have mentioned it earlier on in the show, we as a country are making moves to include more people with disabilities in the workforce, both in private and in the governmental sector. And it's great that we have all these initiatives, but I think it might be fair to say we still have a ways to go.
Absolutely.
Right? Because this is all as well part of the Qatar National Vision 2030.
Yes.
Right? So we have, 5 years left?
Yes, 5 years left.
And
yes.
hopefully within that 5 years, we're able to reach some sort of goal.
Yeah. I agree. I always say, talk about planting seeds, and, if we plant the right seeds and nourish them, then they do grow into something amazing. So I don't think that in 5 years the problem would be solved, but I do think that we will be closer to solving, the problem than we were 5 years ago if we plant the right seeds and nourish them.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. We
Yeah.
still have a ways to go.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are enjoying the conversation so far. In just a little bit, we're going to take a musical break for now. In just a little bit, we'll start to answer your guys' questions as our listeners. So make sure to get those in via the WhatsApp line 55975 I also hope that you've been listening to the conversation pretty intently, because I will be imposing a question on you guys for a chance to walk away with a 500 real grocery voucher from El Mira. So I hope you had your listening ears on, because the answer was probably somewhere within our conversation. You just need to listen, right? So I do have a question here from a listener.
Okay.
Who says that they have mild dyslexia, so sometimes they need extra time for reading tasks, even though they manage well overall. Should they disclose this when applying for jobs?
Absolutely. This is a part of advocating for yourself. How do we know how to support you if you don't communicate that? And I know that sometimes that's hard to do, but the goal is to benefit you and help you thrive and be the best version of yourself as possible in the workspace. So that accommodation is important, and that is what being inclusive should look like. You should be able to communicate to your, supervisor, letting them know, hey, I can do this, but I need A, B, and C to make sure that I can do this. Because you don't want to get in trouble for something that you didn't communicate. All you had to do was say, hey, I really do need extra time, and now they know how to work with you in that space.
Rather than just, passive aggressiveness happening, tensions building up, and then somebody's feelings gets hurt.
Exactly.
It really does. Sometimes we do take things to heart, even though we shouldn't.
Yeah.
So we have another question, which is, apart from offering jobs, how should office workspaces accommodate people's needs, people with special needs? How should the office accommodate their needs? For example, like, how versatile should their layout plan be in the office, and terms of desks, desk arrangements, the biometrics, their pantries. Because pantries are typically when we get together during break times, right?
Right. I think it really depends on the actual environment, like what type of different disabilities are in that space. And I think that comes with, one, having a real clear clear conversation from that person with a disability, saying, hey, this is what I need in this space, and then the space accommodating it. Because there are things that can be accommodated for sure, like naturally ramps and certain things, but there are some things that you just don't know you need to accommodate unless it's communicated to you. So I think my number one thing that I would say is, I think that a person shouldn't have to say that they really have a disability. It should already be a part of the conversation when hiring, the interviews, the application. That is when we can have that conversation, and then you further it once that person is hired on.
Right. Because that would, I get it.
Yeah.
For example, I shouldn't have to disclose I have bipolar disorder, right? It shouldn't be a thing. That is it shouldn't be a thing.
You shouldn't have to say, of course, it has to come from you.
Yeah, of course.
Right? But it shouldn't take a situation for you to bring it up. It should be something that is discussed from the beginning. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Are there any disabilities? How can we accommodate you better in this space if we were to bring you on? And I think that's an opportunity to disclose that information. And it's just not a part of the conversation initially.
Right. And that's why I say we still have a ways to go
1,000%.
in terms of really enforcing inclusivity. But with conversations like this, hopefully it's a start, right? You have to start somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
We have another listener who says, is there any special helpline number for disabled people? They also said that office get-togethers and outings should consider places inclusive to disabled employees too.
Wow, that's a good one. I'm not sure if there's actually a helpline. We might just create that, actually, now that I think about that. I'm not sure. I know that there are for sure WhatsApp groups for parents in different communities, Facebook groups for sure. I know Sabika Shaban, she has this group called Qatar. And there's just different several groups based on the different disabilities. So there are support systems, because I'm hearing, is there a way for support? There are support systems and WhatsApp groups for sure.
Right.
What was the second portion of the question?
They're just saying that office get-togethers and outings should be inclusive to employees as well.
For sure. And I mean, that's that team building opportunities to build together. And that doesn't even happen without a disability, right? Like team building, professional development, that should be a thing too. So I think it's just changing the narrative of the workspace in general. But this conversation may open the doors to other changes that need to happen.
Right. It just might make a difference,
I
might say.
Right? That's the goal.
That was my show on Ramadan. No, honestly, the show has been very helpful, not just for us, but for our listeners as well, to better understand a lot of things happening in life. We've discussed so many, different life situations, and there's so many more to discuss, right? It doesn't just stop at one or two, right?
For sure.
For example, we've discussed, for example, divorce. We've also discussed ADHD as a whole, how to better support people with ADHD and things like this. So the conversation doesn't stop at one condition or the other. It's a continuous thing. We have a listener who's asking, it's the same listener. They're asking if they have to mention their ADHD in a resume.
I don't know if it has to be mentioned in the resume, right? I just think that conversation, once you have an opportunity, because I think also words deliver totally different than having an actual conversation, reading tone, reading facial expression. I think that once you have that one-on-one interview, it shouldn't be the person that is being interviewed coming up with that. But if that's something that you feel comfortable in saying, then for sure. But I really want the employee to be the one to kind of initiate that conversation, to make, the one that is applying for the job feel comfortable enough to say it, because I think that's that stigma right there. It's really hard to say, I have a disability, I need help, versus making someone feel comfortable in that space. So if it comes from the employer, I think that would there would be a better, turnout with people communicating and being able to change the workspace.
Right. Because for me in the beginning, this is my first ever job, mind you. Never worked a day before QBS. I didn't disclose that I was bipolar beforehand. And it wasn't until I had a breakdown at one point that people were like, she okay?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah. And that's important. Those conversations are important, because when it does arise, we know how to handle it, versus us saying what is going on?
Right.
It's like we're prepping just in case in the future I may need extra support, and this is why. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. We're going to continue answering more of our listeners' questions in just a little bit. Before we take a break, though, I did say I was going to impose a question on you guys, our listeners. And I hope you were listening to our conversation beforehand intently, because the answer was somewhere within that portion of the interview. And the question for you guys is, and this is to walk away with a 500 Rial grocery voucher from El Mira, is what is one concrete step that individuals with special needs can take to identify their potential career path? Okay. We did mention one step, one way to identify a career path, in terms of people with special needs. I hope you were listening earlier. I don't think there is a right or wrong answer really with this one. It's just whatever step you can identify or whatever you remember us saying earlier on in the conversation. But again, the question is, what is one step that individuals with special needs can take to identify their potential career paths? Think about that. Have a little ponder on it. Remember, this is for an opportunity to walk away with that 500 Rial grocery voucher from El Mira. So, we have a listener here who is asking, are there certain procedures a person with disabilities should take to find a job?
Well, I think, one, just like any human, really figuring out what their strengths are, what they really enjoy, so they can, find the right job where they will thrive. If you don't enjoy cooking, a chef is not, where you should find yourself. But also, I think that, we were just talking about like advocating for yourself and like already knowing what you need to advocate for before going into that space. So once you find what you really, really enjoy, once I get into that space, in a workspace, what are the things that I really need to feel comfortable? Do I need to have a later schedule? Do I need more breaks? Do I need more time to accomplish certain things? Just knowing what you need to be, modified in that workspace so you can advocate would be the next steps, I would say.
Which is all things I do for myself.
Yeah.
like I need a break.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll see you in 10 minutes or an hour.
And you deserve it. It's okay to and I think that sometimes we think that because we're on the clock, like you can't take a break or you can't, cater to yourself. If we've communicated it and know what you need for you to thrive, then I think that there's nothing wrong with that.
Which is how I used to approach my job. Which is why I used to break down more often because I was younger. I started this job, like I said, my first job, I started at 24. I didn't know that I could advocate for myself. That was, I think, the main thing. I thought I always had to be readily available. I, did so much overtime. It was insane. Even my friends were like, this is a bit, you're off the clock. Why are you...
Boundaries.
I didn't have boundaries, none of all of that. I just went into the workplace with a wrong mindset completely. And like I said, I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I didn't know that I could.
Exactly.
I didn't know it was a thing, but now I'm very good at it.
Yes, exactly. It's a thing.
Right.
Because it helps you be the best version of yourself at work.
For sure. We have a listener here who is asking, their aunt has Down syndrome, but she barely says an understandable word, but she loves making scrapbooks and she's good in setting up the table and housework. So what kind of job do you think she could find?
I mean, some place along the hospitality space, Life Skills Hub. I know that there are programs that are basically we are charging to teach these skills as well. And it's just like university. You go to pay a tuition and you eventually come out with a better skill. And so with Life Skills Hub, we have partnerships with all the different Hilton hotels here, and there are about 9 of them, where that could be an opportunity where she kind of goes into those spaces and helps the hospitality, area with the Hilton, like learning in that I would say hospitality is where I could see her thriving.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I could see that as well. I could definitely see that as well. We have a listener who's asking, are there any special job-seeking websites for disabled people?
Wow, I'm loving these questions because you guys are giving me ideas. Not that I know of here in Qatar, but maybe we may just add a tab to our Life Skills Hub website. I love that is important.
As far as I know, I don't think there's a specialized website yet for people with disabilities to seek out jobs, but I know we have government platforms like Qawadr or the Sahem program, and these help all people to find jobs, but because I also know, and I mentioned this way earlier on in the show, that as of February 2022, Qatar has about approximately 80% of people with disabilities that are employed across both sectors. So Qawadr is probably your guys' best bet in terms of that.
Cool.
So
I've learned something new today.
And I think anybody can get on Qawadr. It's just for job seekers in general. But like I said, it's a part of our National Vision 2030, so there are steps in place for hiring people with disabilities. Okay, we have another question here. This is from Joseph, who says that they are a media company owner. How can they create jobs for people with disabilities?
Well, I'd love to have a meeting with them to kind of go into their space and kind of figure out what, is needed and how to. I think, honestly, as I'm like kind of coming up with this answer, I think that there's any work, any task can be modified for someone with a disability in that space. So think about the task that you already have. How can you modify that for anyone to come in and be able to complete that task with support or without support?
Fair enough. We also have a question here that says, can you please speak about mobility for people with disabilities in the workplace?
That is important. I think that that's something that we were making sure that for our event, there should be ramps everywhere. Think of every disability. How do we support the space and make sure that it's accommodating? And I think that for sure is something that should be in all the spaces, ramps. And how do we support, adults or children with wheelchairs? What does that look like? I know that there are a few people that are heavily advocating for this space because they're experiencing it. They can't even get the right Uber, driver to take them to the next location because they don't have the right accommodations for that. So I do think that is another important topic to tap into.
For sure. Now, lastly, we have someone who says, I'm a parent of a teenager with autism. What kinds of jobs do you find are best suited for people on the spectrum?
I mean, I think it's too generalized to answer. I think that it really, really depends on that child. When I think of autism, automatically something that's routine building. What does that look like? And I think that any job should be able to have a routine to follow. So I can't say that it is,
one or the other.
Yeah, I think it's where can my child build a routine at? And if we can't build a routine, if it's not already given, how do we create that? So going back to the media question, it's like, what are the tasks that you guys, complete throughout the day? How do you build a routine around that task so someone with a disability or someone with autism can follow it?
So, okay, lastly, this is my lastly. Okay. I know I already said lastly, but is there support available after someone with special needs actually gets hired to, help them keep that job?
With Life Skills Hub, that's what we're trying to build. When you go through our program, we provide a one-on-one support, to kind of go into, the workspace and we kind of fade that person out. But we do try to, keep up. And, once someone's hired, we know that we were the ones that kind of connected. So, yeah, I definitely think that Life Skills Hub and any center, I know that there are different centers here. We're not a center, but I know that there are centers here that are, tapping into the vocational skills space. Any experts, any behavior therapists, I think that just, looking into the different experts and having conversations with them, they should be able to support and give the right, tools.
Right. One that I know and that I worked with personally was Best Buddies Initiative. They're a part of the Shafallah Center and they help people with disabilities get those jobs, keep those jobs. They also, like you and the Life Skills Hub, they don't just throw them into the lion's den. They're there with them every step of the way as well. So there are many places.
Definitely.
And that's definitely one of them. And so is the Life Skills Hub.
Yes.
Okay, so before we let you go, Nikki, is there any final message or piece of advice you would love to give to maybe employers or family members of people with disabilities in terms of, moving forward into the career space?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I think, employers and employees and families and adults with disabilities I want us to focus on the mindset first, because if we can focus on the mindset, then we can approach it totally differently. So with our adults with disabilities and our families with disabilities, go in, wanting to advocate for yourself, knowing what you need to advocate for, knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are, and for the employees to be open to any person that walks into that door and being able to figure out how do you accommodate them. And if you don't know how to accommodate them, then you need to find the right resources and the right support to accommodate them, because anybody should be able to, work in these spaces. So,
right.
yeah.
And adding on to that, we have a listener who says even from school, students should be taught workspaces, inclusiveness, and offering of jobs to disabled people. It's a normal thing to do. And I love to hear that from our own listeners. It means that this episode definitely reached them on a deeper level than that I love to hear about.